Welcome to Makers International, a podcast of makers from around the world, talking with makers from around the world. Here's Jamie Page, Steve Twidell, Chris Cute, and now your host, Richard Morley.
So yeah, obviously people on Sunday were expecting us to broadcast live, but it was all a bit weird with YouTube, so we couldn't get into the account. None of us could get into the account and sign in. Nobody could organise the broadcast. People were in the chat. Half the messages weren't getting through. It all went completely wrong for some reason. It seems to be working now. But we kind of decided that we wouldn't do the live show on Sunday at all. Sorry about that. But those people that weren't there on Sunday were probably expecting something to be out tonight or whenever they're listening to this afterwards. So we thought it'd be a good idea to basically just put something out and have a little chat. So here we are, just basically for the people that always listen. What are we talking about tonight, Chris?
Well, first of all, I wanted to say there was a good buzz about the topic we were going to talk about on Sunday, and that topic is going to be brought forward to this coming Sunday because there were a lot of people, myself especially included, that really wanted to talk about this. So we will be talking about the Maker's Education. We've got Andy Pugh. We've also got Dan Smith from Taylor's Muirfield that are going to be joining us, and there's a reason why they're going to both be joining us because they both have backgrounds in education. So I want to let people know, first of all, that we're not blowing off that episode and not doing it. It will happen on Sunday. So tonight, I don't know what we're talking about other than the fact that, YouTube, had an Ooops. Right around the time we were about ready to go on the air, I think it was about a half an hour before we were going to sign on, I went, guys, you might want to check YouTube because it looks like YouTube has an Ooops. And they continue to have it it was well after an hour since we were supposed to go on because we normally go on at, 4:30 or 9:30 p.m. in the UK. It was like 10:30 before it ever got sorted. So by that point in time, there was no points. Anyway, so I don't know. I want to say welcome back to Ireland to Steve.
Thank you very much.
How you doing, buddy?
Tired. Very tired.
I bet you are.
Have you been back at work now since? Because you got back to Ireland last night.
Yeah, last night.
So
I think it was
presumably
last night. I don't know what day I'm in and what time frame, but yeah. Got back yesterday, not back to work, thank God, until Wednesday, because we have a bank holiday here in Ireland. And the school I work with took Tuesday as well. So it means I'm not back till Wednesday, thank God, because I would be like a walking zombie.
See, I was going to basically take the opportunity, being as we've got two ex-teachers with us, with Andy and Dan, to dig as much as possible about teachers and their blooming extra long holidays and how they don't get any time off. But you work in a school, don't you, Steve? And you just literally said, yeah, it's a bank holiday and we took the Tuesday as well.
Yeah, well, the way it works here is because it's special needs kids that I work with, we could have taken the Friday and the Monday, because of it's all done around training days and holiday days and stuff like that, how they work it out in the system. But normally a school would take the Friday and the Monday in this situation, but we took the Monday and the Tuesday because it's special needs kids and it's easier to run the days consecutively for respite for the kids and to help the parents out, because if you break the days up, the kids can't have broken days respite, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
So yeah, so that's why they do it in our school, is so that the kids and the parents can get a break, because autistic kids suffer from change, right? If there's suddenly a change and you're not going to school on Monday, then it's a big thing. So if you've got somewhere to replace that, like respite, it's not so much of a blow. So that's that.
I've got a quick question for you. So maybe you can answer that before Steve, Andy, and Dan get here, right? So you get teachers, right, that spend weeks and weeks and months and years that train to become a teacher.
Yep.
Right.
4 years.
Why then do they need a teacher's training day?
Because it's like most professionals, Jamie, your skills are upgraded quite often, and school curriculum changes and stuff, and most teachers aren't actually psychic.
All right. So, like, for example, they have a Phillips screwdriver and all of a sudden they come out with a flathead.
Exactly. Now you got it. Yeah. Yeah.
It would
There
be
you
like
go.
it would be like you need teachers to learn how to go from using a handsaw to a table saw, Jamie. I mean,
Well,
there
no, you're
the
using a regular.
education progresses, and so teachers must be retrained in the new areas. of
Yeah,
it.
like you're teaching scroll sawing, right? You're using a regular blade for 15 years, and all of a sudden they throw in a spiral blade. Are
Oh,
you just
now I can
meant
relate. Now I
you're
can relate.
meant to you're just meant to be able to use a spiral blade, are you? Or do you need
Yes.
someone to say this is how you use it? There you go.
No, you should
Why-
know
why-
straight away.
I mean, it's fairly logical, isn't it, Jamie? I mean, when they explain it like that, I mean, you know, skills need upgrading, new things come in. It's pretty straightforward. I just want to know why they can't do one of those training days in either the 6-week summer holiday, the 3-week Christmas holiday, or the 3-week Easter holiday.
Yeah.
I think that's a fairly
Yeah.
reasonable. You know,
Well,
Yeah.
because let me guess, Richard. I'm going to guess it's because they're on holiday, and expecting them to work when they're on holiday makes it not a holiday.
Why do they need so much holiday though?
Because I mean, all right. I tell you what, you spend your time in a classroom with that amount of kids, and tell me you don't need that holiday, and I will kiss your rear end. I'm telling you right now that those holidays are well deserved, and our teachers, I will support our teachers.
I spent
100%
30 odd years
on it.
with a sister. And
I
I
wouldn't
tell you
get
what,
holiday.
Richard. I tell you what, Richard. I'll openly say this now, right? You are very welcome when you're coming over to Ireland on your hippie noodle trails, right? Try and make it kind of the last week of school here, and you're quite welcome to spend a day with me in the classroom doing what I do, and then you'll say, "Oh shit, I need a break."
the last week of term is that the week when they like you're not allowed to, you don't have to come in uniform, and then we won't bother doing those because we've finished all
No,
the
our school doesn't
so we're
have
watching
uniform.
videos and we're I totally get that you're not in a mainstream school, but seriously, and Andy and Dan are they're going to cop all this next week because like I am properly on my soapbox when it comes to teachers and like the need for extra time off. Kat will tell you that she's in the
She's already yelling, "Don't go there!"
She's already on her hippie box.
she literally was just stood in the doorway like eyes like a fishmonger's cat when I'm talking about. She's like, don't do it.
Good luck with that on Sunday, Richard, is all I'm going to say.
I honestly hope that the conversation we have on Sunday is going to be the level will be a little higher than Richard complaining about the teachers' freaking holidays.
I do kind of get the need for them kind of holidays. My mum works at a special needs school, and some of the I want to say kids, but I'm going to say kids. But some of the kids at my mum's school are kind of like 6-foot kids, and these kids don't know their own strength. And some of the time, I remember one day she come home from work, and she turned around and said, I can't remember the kid's name, but she said that this kid had ripped a radiator off the wall. And I was like, huh? And he's like, yeah, you want to kind of stay away from him? He's like, yeah, well, that's why we have 6 weeks off at school.
Compared to Richard, I'm quite a small guy, but generally I'm not a small guy and I'm not too light. I have literally been taken clean off my feet and thrown across a classroom before by a child. So that'll tell you the kind of days I could be with every day. So, but hey, I will add, I don't feel one bit guilty about taking 2 months off for summer. Thank you very much.
I wouldn't either. You know what? I wouldn't either. And you know what kills me about that is the people complain about the time teachers get off, and then when they stop and look at a teacher's salary on a yearly basis, they go, "Oh, well, it's because they get 2 months off." Do you understand the responsibility teachers have? These are your kids. Do you understand? And this is the whole point of the conversation that we will have on Sunday that we're not going to get into now.
This could seriously devolve right now.
Let's talk about this on Sunday and now. I'm still back on welcoming Steve back to Canada. And Steve, I hope I know why you went, and I hope that everybody is handling things as well as can be expected is the best I can say. And I our thoughts were with you and with Rob when you went over there, and that's a situation that no parent should ever have to deal with. And I my empathy, and I don't have much, but whatever I have, you had 100% of it.
Yeah, I mean, I put a shout out on Facebook earlier today, just saying thanks to everyone that I got tons and tons of messages of condolence and messages to pass on to Rob, and I had tons of people saying if you need someone to talk to, just give us a shout. And there was two very special people, I promised I won't mention them across the air, that really helped me out by enabling me financially to get across to Canada and see my best friend and brother, and they will always be in my debt. They were fantastic, and I thank them truly for that. It was a tough week, lots of emotions. It was also it was bittersweet. I got to see Rob again after a long break, but hopefully next time it will be on a much happier note. Family's doing good. His two brothers are dealing with it, and the rest of the family are doing okay. It's just one of them things that totally sucks and will take a long, long time, if ever, to accept the fact that a 22-year-old boy passed away with a crappy disease.
I don't know that you ever get over that, but yeah, you learn to deal with it, I think is the way to put it. You know,
yeah.
And I can only relate to this, Steve, in a secondhand sense, just much the way I'm relating it to you currently. Is I had a boss, and she was a lady, and I loved that lady, and I still love her, and I miss her. But she had a son that was taken from her when he was 19, 20 years old, and then she never got over that. And then it was like 4 years later, her other child, her daughter, she lost her too, in a kind of a similar incident. And so, I mean, I saw the pain that she went through, so I know what the deal was. So, you know, I don't want to get too far into it and bring people down, but just know that, you know, the love that exists is 100% headed Rob's family's way, and understandably your way too, because I know how close you are with Rob.
Yeah, the community were brilliant, and that's what I love about the community. You know, they were there when Rob needed them, and me. So thank you.
Well, all we can do is hope it helped.
I did.
All right. On a brighter note, Jamie, how's your soccer team doing? Oh, sorry, your football team.
Luton's doing well.
This insult to Chris is brought to you by Jamie's page. Beep off, Chris.
You might want to do that beep again. Go ahead, man.
Jamie's page. Beep off, Chris.
I'm sorry. I had a little insight into Jamie's football team's performance, and I just thought I'd ask. Anyway, yeah. Okay.
You know, Tottenham's like doing really badly at the moment. They're having to siphon off money from by doing plumbing and heating exhibitions at their stadium next week.
The £1 billion stadium with the longest bar in the UK.
That'll be why the plumbers are going in.
That's self-service. That's why Christy wants to come back next year.
No, it's like absolutely not the reason why I want to come back next year. Yeah. By the time I get there, the place will be burned down.
Self-service. Chris wants to emigrate.
Oh my God.
Do they sell Golden Shower then?
I think so.
Tottenham, probably.
You know, I would agree with you guys, but if I did, we'd both be wrong. Anyway, oh man.
Oh dear. How many cutting boards you got to make, Chris?
Jamie?
Touche, my friend. Touche.
I believe your birth certificate is nothing more than an apology letter from a condom factory. So please don't bring that up again. You know what we want to talk about? Gentlemen, we do actually have a subject we probably should broach and put it out there to anybody who's interested. Is we want to talk about our Facebook group, obviously on Facebook. That's the Makers International group. The four of us are trying or hoping to devolve ourselves with that group, because we have other things that we might like to do further down the line. And so what we're looking for is for anybody who would like to take over that group. And Jamie, what was the count of people that are actually in that group currently? It was like 1,100,
It's, yeah, it's
1,100 people.
well over 1,000. Yeah, well over 1,000. I can
Let me
get
just
an
go and have a
exact
look.
number.
I'm pretty sure it's about 1,100 and something.
Yeah,
So there's 1,100 people in that group.
1,112 exactly as it is at the moment.
And I think the plan is this, people, all we want to do is take our name off that group, put it back to probably the Makers on YouTube group, which is what we originally started it as, and then let somebody else manage it and handle it, because we've got other things that we might want to do several months down the line than to be admins and moderators of that group. It's just but if we don't want to shut it down, because that would be a rude thing to do to the 1,100 people that have signed up to the group, because the reason why we started that group is because somebody else shut another group down, and we don't want to be that guy. So we want to leave that group open, but we want just to find somebody else who wants to be an administrator, moderate it, and take it on themselves, and then take it in their own direction. I don't really care, but we have a group that we don't want to shut down, but we do want to take our name off of it because we got other things planned down the line. So if there's anybody out there that's interested, Jamie, how can they contact us?
You can rename it. You can contact me via Instagram. You can contact us via our Facebook page. You can contact us
probably just put a
directly.
post on the Facebook page.
Yeah, yeah.
Presumably, if somebody's looking to take over the group and basically manage it and look after it and nurture it and all that good stuff, then they'll be on Facebook, I guess.
Yeah. There's plenty of ways directly. Either way, there's plenty of ways to get in contact with one of us. So,
Yes.
Is it worth putting a link to that group in the show notes description type thing, and then people can physically click on it, and then if somebody is either already a member or potentially not a member, presumably it's going to be like a member thing that one of the members would want to take over, I would assume. I don't know. Then at least they can just click on it and go and have a little peruse through and see what they think of the group.
Well, yeah, can do, but I just understand that anybody who tries to enter that group has to ask to enter it, and one of you three has to allow them into it before anything can happen, as long as we make that clear, because it's not a public group, it's a private group. And so you can apply to it, but I mean, somebody has to accept you into the group before you can take a look around and do what Richard's talking about.
Yeah, but I mean, so my thought, the way my thought process was going was, chances are, I'm assuming the first people looking to take it over are likely to be listeners or regular listeners of the show, and most likely members of that Facebook group, or fairly highly likely, I would have said, rather than just Joe Random that stumbles on the podcast looking for a Facebook group to.
Oh yeah. I mean,
chances are that's the chain of events.
And let's be honest, chances are the person we're going to hand it off to, or the persons that want to do whatever they want to do with it, are going to be people we already know, because we're not going to just hand it off to somebody we don't know. We want somebody that we know and trust, that will handle that group respectfully, because we're not going to just hand it over to just, hi, I'm Joe Smith, I heard on the podcast. It's like, no, it's not
exactly.
That's
not fair to the people that are already in the group.
Yeah, that's just not going to happen. I mean, we want somebody that we know that we know would benefit from having a group of 1,100 people that could actually do some good for themselves or for their own organization or group or whatever the case may be, but keep it a community group, because we started a community group. That group wasn't never about us as a podcast. It was about trying to pull people in as a community. So as long as people understand that going into it, that's fine. It takes up too much of our time, and we have something else in mind that we'd rather do down the lines and spend our time with that. We'd rather spend our time elsewhere down the line, if you follow what I'm saying. So if somebody has the idea and thinks that would be beneficial, just fun to do, we're wide open to give it to you, but we don't want to shut the group down, because that was just being that guy, and we don't want to be that guy.
Sure. I mean, I guess cards on the table. I guess there is a slim possibility, if nobody wants to take it on, then it unfortunately might be closed down, or at least kind of
unmoderated.
Yeah, or I was going to say abandoned, which is pretty much the same thing, I guess. Yeah. Down the line, which again is not something we want. Hence the reason to mention it, see if there's any takers, somebody wants to take it on and nurture it in their own little direction. Is, like I say, we've not got the time. It's not that we're abandoning Facebook or abandoning the group or going off and doing, other things. Just as the podcast evolves and our channels evolve, time constraints are that which mean we're unable to do everything. So we've got to then kind of dial back on what we can do, what we want to do, etc., etc.
Because if we can't do it right, we don't want to do it. Is basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. I guess Richard could have it as a team router one, and then all of a sudden he could actually have some fans.
You
I
notice,
can't
Steve,
believe you went there.
you notice, Steve, how he didn't mention Team Turner there because he knows.
I know Steve. I know Steve's got at least 5.
I've got at least 6.
How many do you have, Jamie?
About 9.
Okay, but when you wake up, how many do you really have?
8.
Well, actually, there's 3 more here that also turn occasionally, so that I've got 9 too.
Yeah, he's got 9 too.
I tell you, I make a confession. All right.
Oh,
Today,
Oh God,
today
here we go.
Today I had a bit of bad news, right? And I went out into my workshop, and the first thing I went for was for my lathe.
Yeah, it was.
of course.
See, even you, Jamie, originator and CEO of Team Scrollsaw, have finally realised that it's boring.
And my scroll saw
And
is
nobody
under
likes
a
it.
pile of- and my scroll saw is under a pile of bowl blanks.
You know what? I'm going to interrupt because I can honestly tell you that I would probably really, really enjoy scroll sawing if I was any damn good at it. I'm not any good at it because I don't have the patience for it. That's my problem. I don't have the patience for it. But if I did, I would probably really enjoy it because I bet it's very therapeutic. I bet it's an awesome way to spend time in a shop.
I've got a very similar. Don't nobody tell it. If anyone utters this outside this, I'll lie and just pretend it never happened.
In other words, hit record now, everybody.
Right. I genuinely, I don't like scroll sawing. I do it occasionally, but it has to be a very simple project. I like the kind, like Jamie does with the artworky, like the pictures, portrait type stuff. But they have to be very simple, and it has to be a picture that
I don't follow him personally.
But I hate it. I don't have the patience at all. But it's something that I've in the past and would again in a heartbeat recommend to people for getting into like woodworking, especially those people that go, "Oh, I'd love to do woodworking, but I haven't got the space." When you've got a dining room table, you could put a scroll saw on a dining room table in the spare room, on the floor in your bathroom, if you had to, on the kitchen side in your tiny little flat, on a chair.
Same as a lathe.
Yeah.
You know what, Steve, it is very similar to a lathe. And that's kind of funny you mentioned that because I was obviously as a kid, my father got me into woodworking and he saw that I had a real interest in it. My brothers and my older sister had no desire, but he saw that I did. And so the first power tool that you actually plug into a wall that you can turn on that I ever owned, my parents bought for me, and it was a scroll saw. Because my dad knew that it was going to be damn hard for me to kill myself on a scroll saw. And so it was an excellent entrance tool for anybody who wants to get into woodworking. I mean, it's because you're not going to hurt yourself to any extent unless you're Carl Jacobson and you cut yourself on a blade. But honestly, seriously, scroll sawing is not a bad hobby. And I know there are a lot of people. I just happen to don't have the disposition to do it and be good at it like Jamie does. Jamie is a very patient person, believe it or not. I'm not.
I actually had an argument with someone not so long ago about the old let's say a brand that people can associate. Let's say Harbor Freight versus Festal.
Oh, geez.
When it comes to scroll saws, it's sort of like, oh, you wouldn't be able to do that unless you had a decent scroll saw and all this sort of stuff. I said, I bet your ass I can wipe your ass with it on mine.
Well, you had one of the cheapest record power scroll saw out there, and you did that friggin' Tiger with that thing, right?
Yeah, and I ended up calling a guy out saying, I bet you I could do just as good on mine. And it's like, yeah, but you probably could, but it wouldn't come out as good as mine. So I didn't say that. I said, I'm sending you, I could still do it.
Mm.
That's my
You
boy.
know, I said, I may take a bit more sanding, but I could still do it.
Well, I mean, that's like any tool, isn't it? If you're gonna make the Harbour Freight Festool analogy, you can pick any tool from either of those brands and like for like, and yeah, you could still do the job. But I mean, what was the name of that company last year at Maker Central that was doing the scroll sawing? They did like the £1 million scroll saws.
Hegner.
Hegner, that was it. So I mean, they were beautiful machines. Don't get me wrong, and they had some really cool, quick releasey things.
Yeah.
But that for me, that knew nothing about those machines, that was all I could see. Apart from it had like a bigger throat depth. Had the advantage. That's where the money was going. You could change the blades really quickly. And now, to me personally, if I'm doing the Tiger, that's going to add up that time.
That's what scrollers are looking for, is a quick release.
Well, you know,
A quick release from scrolling, yeah.
Like anything.
I'll do anything. When it comes to this is a different topic. We could spend hours on this, but I mean, briefly, when I look at tools like Hegner versus a Craftsman scroll saw, when I look at Festool versus a DeWalt, or I look at a Laguna lathe versus a Record Power lathe, I don't, and perhaps I'm quite wrong. I may be very wrong on this, but I assume that the price I'm paying for the Laguna, the Festool, the Hegner, is actually because they built that machine to last. It used to be in the day that machines that were going to run forever cost money. And that's why they cost that much, because you never had to replace them. Now, I don't know that in today's manufacturing and tool world that is necessarily the case anymore, but that's my first instinct. When I look at a price difference, I think, well, that one's probably a better quality. It's probably going to last longer than this one. I mean, am I wrong there? Or
I think if you're going to go down the whole no, I was gonna say, if you're going to go down the whole price comparison sort of thing, brand A versus brand B, and brand B's 3 times the price, I think there's going to be that as well. It's going to be not just made out of tin foil and popsicle sticks. There'd be some like cast aluminium parts to it, or some cast steel to it. The same with a lathe or a table saw. People want a cast iron tabletop or bed or whatever, not
an aluminum one,
dented piece of tin foil.
Aluminium, sorry.
Or whatever. They don't want a pile of junk, but they don't want to pay the price. So I think there's a bit of that as well. But even if you put tool A against tool B, where not only have you got the better materials, you're also going to have, I hope and I think, and they're the things that I look for when I'm paying for tools, is you're getting the customer service, you're getting the better extraction, or the longer lasting motor, or spare parts are available, or whatever it is as well. So there is those things. If I'm going to buy a 90 quid Record Power, I'm not going to expect to have the same level of service and parts and longevity as I would if I was paying 1,500 quid for a Hegner.
Well, right. Well, yeah, that's why that was kind of my point. But I guess my question that I was basically asking was
there a
I mean, back in the day, it used to be the case where you got what you paid for. Today, if I was to buy, like, let's do something that's a little more similar. Let's say I was to buy a Delta table saw from a local big box store. But and then I bought a Powermatic saw, table saw. Should I expect the Powermatic to run longer or have a longer life than the Delta? Is what I'm asking. Is there a real difference? Is the difference in price equatable to the longevity and life of the tool, or is that no longer a factor?
Do you mean between brand A and brand B, or do you mean between brand A 20 years ago and today?
I'm talking about today. I don't care about yesterday because obviously we live in today. So I want to know about today. What your thoughts are on today? Just because that's I don't know. That's where I live, and people
No,
that are
I think
looking
you
to buy.
misunderstood me, Chris. What I was getting at was, are you looking at comparing Powermatic and Delta today, or are
Yeah,
you looking at comparing two different brands, A and B, today?
I'm talking about today. Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I think if you're going to pay more, I would expect it to last longer. I would expect it to be better quality parts. I would expect it to be, better after sales, spare parts available, and all the rest of it. But
Well, so would I. But my question was actually, is it?
well, I don't know, because that's why I was asking about today and yesterday. I think if you look at Powermatic today against Powermatic 20 years ago, and pick a brand today and 20 years ago, I think for the same price, the same quality, I don't think you get today as you used to. I don't think things are made to last like they used to be.
That's what I meant. Okay.
I don't think that those Stanley chisels and those Stanley plane irons have as good a quality steel in them as they used to 20 years ago.
I agree with you.
Whether that's whether that matters or not, that's something else.
Well,
But
it depends
it's
on
like,
how you. I tell you how you break this down. It depends on how young you are and how long you expect to live. If you're 20 years old and you want to buy a tool that's gonna last you for the rest of your life and not have to buy again, it matters. But if you're my age and you're only looking to get 20 years out of the tool, then it doesn't matter so much. So, I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
yeah, totally. But I mean, I don't think it just applies to power tools or tools in general. I think washing machines, cars.
Right. No,
Houses. Like, pick a thing that someone's made, and then pick the same thing that someone else made 50 years before, and you probably find that the one that was built 50 years ago is still around, but the one that was built yesterday probably won't be in 50 years. But the other one
I'll be
will.
honest with you, God, if you let me live until I'm 70, I'm buying my tools from Harbor Freight from that point on because I didn't expect to get to that point. So if I have something that lasts another day, it's worth the freaking money. All right, that's all right. Whatever. All right,
That's a really good. Why would if you
no,
look at the kind of stereotypical wood turning age? It's like, why aren't they really, really cheap, never going to last longer than a few years turning tools? Why are they all really expensive?
Ooh, we went there.
No, because that stereotype is there for a reason. The stereotypes happen for a reason. It's people like Caitlin and Susie and Chloe and all these younger people and the work that Sophie's doing that's kind of giving that stereotype a kick up the behind, and I think that's awesome. Don't get me wrong, but that stereotype's there for a reason, isn't it? I mean, let's be honest. Let's talk, brass tacks.
Yes,
it is there, and we've all seen it.
But that stereotype also comes with a certain snobbery, and therefore the cheaper tools in the wood turning world would not get talked about as much as the most expensive ones.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there, and I that's something else that's not really talked about as well. I personally, in the past, in a couple of clubs, have found it very Jonesy. So and so's got this, so everyone then goes and buys that, and there's like a little. It's almost like the fashion industry.
Yeah, the wood turning world can be a bit guildy and membery, and if you're not in that guild or membership, then you tend to be kind of not listened to in the wood turning world. But that's changing with YouTube and social media and stuff like that. The guys like myself, yourself, Jamie, that are turning are using maybe not the most expensive tools. That's why this social media community is starting to thrive now, because people are starting to listen to those people as much as the guild members. And it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing to have change, because what's coming with us is the younger generation. There's no younger generation being introduced to wood turning by the guild members. 100%. I can tell you that just from looking across the board. Because there's an age restriction to guild.
That's a great point, because I can tell you I grew up watching Norm Abrams and the New Yankee Workshop, And I remember all the tools he had and all the and I was just thinking when I was a kid, I'm going, I'm never going to be a woodworker because I could never afford all those freaking tools that Norm gets to play with and have fun with. And here I am today, and I have all those tools. But so it was a real kind of it was something I still enjoyed. I don't get me wrong, I love Norm Abrams, and I loved watching that show. And I will even watch if they ever put it back on PBS as reruns. I'll watch it again. But there was that little instinct there that's like, you know, I need to have that in order to do this, and you really didn't. But that was the impression that you got.
Yeah. The thing that opened my eyes. Sorry, Jamie. The thing that opened my eyes was when we were organising UKIS, the very first year that we started it, because that's a prominently wood turning show. When we first organised the very first year, we invited the guilds of Ireland and the guilds of the UK to put out across all their memberships that this show's happening and that they're quite welcome to have discounts because for guild members and yada yada yada. I think there was 300 and something, or maybe even more, clubs got emails from us in the UK, and there was roughly the same in Ireland. The same amount of emails went out, and we got about 2 in total replies. It was, hell no, we don't want anything to do with some amateur show where it's just a bunch of YouTube fly-by-nights come in. The next year, after they saw how much of a success and how much interest there was, all of a sudden we've got the guild interested, because they realized that there was a big following in the YouTube world and in wood turning in general, and there was all ages from young right up to really senior, and they thought, oh hell, we're missing out on something here.
And did they go to the second year? That was second year we had some interaction through the guilds. Yeah. It's interesting that is. I mean, I think we've just touched on about 4 different potential topics there, but we've pretty much gone back around full circle. But it is genuinely interesting, the whole reaction from people and the kind of perception that YouTube has. I mean, there was a guy on a course, one of my route courses, very recently, actually. It came about that I've got my channel because the guy that runs the courses or hosts the courses at the location, he always sort of says about having the channel. And then when people ask about whether there's a written précis or anything, I was like, no, but everything we do is going to be on my channel. And it literally, the comment was, "Oh, you're a YouTuber, are you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I put videos on YouTube." And then very quick, the conversation sort of like moved on, and then it was brought straight back to, "Oh, you mean a YouTuber? You're a YouTuber?" And it was just, it kind of came across in, whether it was meant like that, I don't know, but it kind of came across in a very derogatory way.
Yep.
And I think we've all experienced it in the comments. But also to have that in person it kind of threw me a bit, because actually, you know, it's a bit of an oxymoron, because there's people that have that kind of attitude and that kind of view, and then there's other people on the other side of it that are like, oh, you get all this free stuff and blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, that's all through YouTube. It's not like a bad thing. It could be, but it's, you know, I guess. Well, how kind of get to a point? It's like, take the person, not the stereotype, which goes against exactly what I said about the whole stereotype with turning in the first place, which kind of brought us here. But you know, I guess I've just unargued myself there.
No, I got you.
Well, Chris is sending me private messages now on the screen that I'm just sitting there, like, basically saying we should kind of wind the show up, and then it went to shut up. I'm trying to send you hints. Shut up.
I did not say shut up, because I really enjoyed this conversation, guys. It was an unexpected conversation we had. That was, by the way, it's Monday, in case anybody's wondering when we did this, and we're not live on YouTube. We're doing this off air so that we have something to release on Wednesday for you, because we weren't able to do it on Sunday. I was just kind of letting Richard know I thought we were getting a little long in the tooth in time. And hey, I'm game to go however long you guys want to go. But I was hinting to Richard that maybe we may have reached our limit. But
Yeah,
yeah,
you better.
it's subtle about it. It's like, shut up.
well, Steve,
we-
Jamie, I mean, back me up on this. I've got to tell Richard to shut up about 4 times before he finally gets the message. Am I wrong here?
Yeah, but
Yes,
we'll have to
you're
wrap
wrong.
it up. We'll have to wrap it up quick because I can hear the helicopters from the guild coming now, and I think I'm about to get bombed.
Awesome. Well, definitely. Let's wrap it up here. And we'll have because we've got. I always love these shows when we're just babbling on about nothing and see where the conversation goes. If you're listening, you've got any comments about what we've talked about. If you want to talk about the YouTube channel, or if you've got any thoughts on how little teachers actually work and how ridiculous amount of time that they get off each year and
Oh,
blah
shut
blah
up.
blah.
Shut up.
And if you
then
want
get
the
in touch
group,
about that.
Well, if
You want
you're,
to what?
if you're interested in the
want the
Facebook group,
Yeah, walk a mile in my shoes.
Awesome. But yeah, so we put the show out. We'll see what happens. And I guess until we're out next week with Andy and Dan talking about the state of schools and the ability to do woodworking and technology-based subjects as options, that we'll find out what goes on there. So till then, you take care and we'll see you next week.
have a great rest of the week, everybody.
Jamie Page.